Evening, everyone. A warm welcome from Talking Films Online, TFO for short. TFO was founded almost on a whim by Professor Nikhila and Dr. Geeta Vishwanath in June 2020 during the lockdown. Since then, TFO has had uninterrupted discussions on films from all over the world every Saturday at 9 p.m. on Zoom. It is a group of film scholars, researchers, students, teachers, and anyone passionate about cinema. It has been our practice to invite people to select and lead the discussion of the chosen film, which we watch in our own time and place. On some occasions, filmmakers, editors, and cinematographers have also joined our sessions. Aparna Sen, Amol Palekar, Girish Kasravalli, and Adur Gopalkrishnan, to name a few. We have held film festivals such as East European, Iranian, Women Cinema, and others. In the month of June each year, to celebrate our anniversary, we hold a smartphone short filmmaking contest for students and a lecture series in various university departments. In September 2024, we held our first offline event, an international seminar on Indian cinema in the digital era, continuities and discontinuities, in collaboration with FCT Baroda. Now, I also take the privilege of introducing our guest today. Friends, as we all know, today we will be discussing the film Here, O Mahatma, which came out in 2024. The film is directed by Ramchandra P.N. He is a Mumbai-based filmmaker and 1990 FTII Pune graduate. He directs features, documentaries, shorts, and TV programs. His short, Heart Troubles of Ramchand Yavatmal Tiruchinapalli Azamgarh had won Best Short at the 2004 Abuja Film Festival, Nigeria. His debut feature, Suddha, The Cleansing Rites, took Best Indian Film at the 2006 Ocean Cenefin Festival of Asia and Arab Films in Delhi, and a Dutch Hubert Burls grant, through which screenings were held in about 100 Karnataka villages. Putani Party, The Kids Gang, won Best Children's Film at the 2009 National Film Awards and was considered for Asia Pacific Screen Awards. He directed the documentary Rice and Rasam during a 2011 PSBT Fellowship Program. He has led film programs in Gujarat and Hyderabad, taught at FTII and other universities, curated festival packages, served on juries, and advised on project and script approvals for various government and non-profit bodies. The film will be initiated, the discussion will be initiated by Dr. B. Mangalam. She is a professor in the Department of English, Aryabhatta College, University of Delhi, and she has been teaching since 1985. She translates from Hindi and Tamil to English. She has worked extensively on the intersectionality of caste and gender in literary discourse. Her recent publications include Dalit Fiction in Tamil, 1989 to 2022, Representation of Dalit Women, which was published by Worldview in 2023. Another work, Dalit Writings, an Introduction, which was published by Worldview in 2024. Apart from her translation of poetry and short stories from Tamil and Hindi to English, she has also translated Sharan Kumar Limbale's novel Bahujan as Bahujan, The Awakening, which was published by Havakal 2024. Her translation of Indira Parthasarathy's Tamil play Marai as Barish in Hindi has been performed by professional theatre groups in Delhi and Mumbai. She has also written original plays in Hindi that have been performed by student theatre groups in Delhi University. Ma'am, please, you can go with your discussion now.
Thank you. Thank you so much. First of all, my thanks to Talking Films Online and to the director, Mr. Ramachandra, for giving me this opportunity. I'm a literature person and not, I'm not engaged with the film studies much, except as a viewer. So I'm not very confident of doing full justice to this extraordinary movie, but I'll just share how I respond to this movie. Here, oh Mahatma. It has ironic, tones to the title. I will come to that later. But initially, when I heard the title from Mr. Ramachandra, I thought it is going to be, looking at Gandhi and his relevance, or perhaps how we have outgrown Gandhi in our present contemporary polity. As the movie panned out, it was very interesting and a very powerful kind of exploration at multiple levels in terms of the cultural, political, and the social matrix of India since the 1930s to our present date, of our present times. So it's a movie that we must engage with repeatedly, and it's a very challenging movie to an ordinary viewer like me in terms of being drawn into its very unconventional narrative mode and its experimental form. And also in terms of its content and form, I found it extremely provoking and engaging. And when I say provoking, I mean it in a positive way in terms of how thought-provoking it is, how it makes us look at the art of cinema, the mode of cinema itself from a new perspective, from a fresh perspective. The movie is a conflation of the documentary mode and use of fiction and commentary. And so it presents in this format coalesces to bring out a very powerful political critique. And it's non-linear format, it's narrative in a very, very experimental way. Also, in a way, offers a brilliant commentary, both at the level of, as I said earlier, the form and also in terms of the content. Therefore, this movie expects an extreme and a very positive, high level of alertness on the part of the viewer, because it offers a series of intertextual, intergenric references to movies and to a very important text, for our country, and also in terms of using quotations and comments and claims, which are again counter points, which are counterposed to social media commentary, which I try to undermine as well as expose the claims made in the third block. I mentioned that I'm a literature person, and perhaps that is why I was also able to look at the movie primarily in terms of a postmodernist novel in three sections, in three blocks. Sometimes it's spelled out as three blocks. That I think is again his puckish humor. And in the first block, it talks about it gives the title as the married bachelor, the second one as a wise and equitous bachelor, and the third one as the unmarried retro bachelor. And we do make a lot of jumps here, but the first one starts with a very interesting autobiographical monologue. Stylized as a soliloquy, it also is interspersed with a series of film clips from classics, starting right from 1896, right? 1896, and goes down right up to 2015. And what a wonderful list. In fact, watching this movie has made me, kind of make it a list of how many more movies I need to watch. And that's interesting. And since I mentioned the book or a novel form, it also is interesting that Ramachandra is listing out all the movies along with the years, almost like a citation, almost like like a suggested reading. And so it's very interesting that one is pushed to watch all those movies from a fresh perspective, because what this section does, the first section, I mentioned it is a soliloquy, so it does list out the many of the autobiographical milestones, from talking about how it could be a perspective of a director who hails from a middle class, upper caste, feudal background, from the southern part of India, and yet at the same time, conscious of the various restrictions on specific genders, especially the reference to how his sister was not allowed to learn Bharatanatyam because it was not considered, a kind of a respectable art, and certainly a sister or a daughter of the house is not expected to dream. So it kind of brings out through the personal reference, the state of India at that time in that decade. But more important, that many directors do. But what I found very interesting is this conflation of the mundane and the extraordinary, the conflation of the personal and the political is so deeply kind of part of the subtext and the texture of the movie, that what it does, a kind of a repetitive, a repetitive and very very monotonous structure in terms deliberate. No? There's a deliberateness to that in terms of what he calls that this is my motto that he arrives at in his late 20s or early 30s, that I'm just going to eat, sleep, shit, watch movies, and repeat. And this part actually repeats this as a structural motive. And so it's very interesting that here is this person who is cooking, mopping the floor, eating, filling up water bottles, and getting ready to go out. And we don't see his actual time spent on crafting his movies. And he does talk about his earlier movies, which was mentioned in the introduction as well. But what is interesting is that these activities which are monotonous, repetitive, almost like an absurd play, are kind of interspersed with short film clips that runs as a background and which almost become the foreground as we get more absorbed in the film, the choice of the film clips, right? Whether it is Charlie Chaplin, the dictator, or Akira Kurosawa, or Satyajit Ray, or Ritwik Ghatak, or many of the international movie makers. Some of them I'm really going to study more and watch more. So it was a very enlightening experience of how it shows the preoccupation of the craft maker, of the filmmaker, with the craft of filmmaking itself. The impact of the masters on this particular filmmaker, who again goes on and constantly crafts almost like a sculptor to make another masterpiece. And I'm not exaggerating, but this movie certainly stands out as a masterpiece in terms of these very refreshing experimentation that he offers, both at the level of the intellectual stimulant and also offering a very historical, new historicist approach to this, to help viewers understand and prioritize a sense of history, the notion of history in terms of how the individual film maker is connected to a tradition, to a very rich legacy, both national and global. And he includes Girish Kasaravalli to start with, and then this kind of interface with the national and the global cinema, and where he finds himself. And despite this kind of awesome legacy that he feels at home, how does he manage to create his own perspective, present it in his own voice, and also takes us along in terms of looking at India since the 1990s to 2000s, to 2010, 2015, and the present and beyond. So the 1990s, as we understand, is a very important decade for us, both in terms of Advani's Rath Yatra, the demolition of Babri Masjid, the liberalization and the globalization that kind of synced along with this in this decade. And also, as a filmmaker, he also links it with how the funds dry up for your patronizing or your kind of your support system NFDC, and how the independent filmmaker is really pushed to the lunch in terms of making and not being able to display his movie or show his movie either to the mainstream film audience, or sometimes denied the opportunity even at film festivals. Right? So instead of making it into a kind of a personal statement of angst, or agonizing over how he has been pushed to a margin, and how from the margin he's addressing the mainstream which refuses to listen to him, what the director manages to convey is through this invocation of the series of film clips. He also tries to point out how in every decade, in every century, in every few years, there is an artist who writes, who conveys, who through the lens or through the pen, and is quite often unhurt, but they don't stop working. And I think that is also, I found that I know I could reckon with that in terms of that very robotic and a very repetitive, but with a meaning behind it, in terms of how the time spent by the individual is deliberately restricted to the mundane, to the domestic. And whereas the perspective is constantly getting wider and wider to include the nation in the making, the nation as it has turned out to be, and the nation that continues to continues to preoccupy our mind in terms of how it ought to be. Right? So therefore, from in the section one, if we are looking at this huge impact of the movies, it also shows how the director manages slowly to break out of the realist mode and the dramatic mode, and then choose the experimental mode as his as his unique standpoint in terms of making movies. And some of the scenes, as I said, I'm not a cinema studies person, so I might not do justice to the technical excellence of this movie, though I could kind of feel the impact in terms of one particular scene where the balcony is being shown, and the railings are almost looking three-dimensional, almost in a crooked form. It really looks rickety, and through that rickety balcony we could see those high towers and apartments, and what happens inside in this particular flat. And when we see through that rickety balcony of that huge space of innumerable high rises and apartments and high towers, what we notice is that what is happening beyond perhaps is we are they are getting increasingly opaque, and what is being shown inside the flat, right, though it is repetitive, though it is domestic and mundane, still carries a kind of an aspirational exploration, that he is constantly looking outside, right. The camera and the person handling the camera is constantly looking outside to notice, and therefore this positionality of a commentator is most relevant in the film. Right? Many scenes are left out, but what is being shown in a selective collage, right, in a kind of fusing together, whether it is the Rath Yatra or the or reference to Rohit Vemula, right, or in terms of the state of the conventional filmmaking at crossroads. All these others, so many numerous I would say subjects into this first block itself, that one can go on and on about it. It almost like three autonomous as well as three interlinked chapters, which are extremely invigorating when we read, when we look at each of the block, and then also relate it later to the subsequent blocks to arrive at a holistic picture. But the discourse continues to be pluralistic, and the discourse continues to be in terms of going beyond what crosses our immediate sight. So if this block comes across as the story of the fragmented film director. The second and the largest section in this movie is the second one, which is called The Wise and the Equitous Bachelor, the fragmented social reformer. But it's neither fragmented, and the social reformer was neither fragmented, certainly wise. And this is a very interesting way of an AI voice over of reading major chunks of a very, very seminal text, I know, published in 1936 and delivered talk and delivered lecture of Baba Sahib Ambedkar, which we know today as annihilation of caste. So, talking about this text and and the same experimental mode continues here in terms of reading out chunks, very important excerpts from Annihilation of Caste, whether it is in terms of talking about the division of labor versus division of laborers, or in terms of the focus, Ambedkar's focus on how the reformist law or the social reform movement of the 19th century has focused majorly on the Hindu upper caste family. Questions related to the widow remarriage or to the education of the woman, but largely concerned with the upper caste family as a social structure, and totally ignoring the caste question. Or later talking about the excerpts on the from the Smritis and the Shrutis, and talking about how caste is so integral and to the religion itself, to the religious text itself, that unless we rationally kind of amend those texts, we really cannot talk about talk about it only in terms of your religious system of belief. So this important difference between equating religion to a corpus of literary corpus of texts, which are outdated, which are anti-human, and so therefore need to be amended. So this revisionist approach of Ambedkar is very well brought out in this. And the relevance of annihilation of caste is invoked visually through a series of alternating the social media visuals available through the social media, or through various, perhaps from the newspaper, but I think most of them are from the social media, and which are giving the visuals of the site of oppression as primarily the body of the Dalit male and the Dalit female bodies, which become the site of oppression, and they continue to be so. Right? Not in 1936, Ambedkar is talking about this issue, but the visuals are from 2014, 15, 24, and so on, 23, and so on and so forth. And what is extremely disturbing, of course, and he does full justice to it in terms of picking up visuals of, as I said, severe assault on the Dalit body. It can be burns, it can be surgery marks, it can be breaking of his skull, it can be hanging one upside down under a fireplace, or any kind, all kinds of brutality unleashed on the Dalit body in the name of caste hegemony is kind of once again cataloged and systematically assembled, gathered from every state practically, and that's giving us no consolation, whether from the south or from the north or from the east or west. Every state practically, whether it's Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Telangana, Uttar Pradesh, Maharashtra, Bihar, Odisha, West Bengal, you name the state and there it is. But only Rajasthan, only in terms of how each one is a kind of continues to make this hierarchy and hegemony of caste as an extremely integral and stay on of our social matrix. So this is the most powerful section of the movie, I found personally, in terms of Ambedkar's, in terms of expecting us to re-engage with this seminal text, The Annihilation of Caste, and to see how what he argues most rationally is still valid, because we have not at all responded to that book in terms of, remodeling our uh, social formations, our social representations, and also in terms of social engagements among the communities. So the violence on the Dalits, and sometimes, and as we saw in the first section, the narrator director continues to calmly wash the utensils, cook, eat his meals, fill up his water bottles from the RO. Right? So that again, it coincides with his references to the various, to his first movie Suddha, which is for the right of the right of what was it about the cleansing rites, sorry, the sutta. I'm not digressing. I'm trying to bring in the kind of alignments between the different sections, in terms of, if we see that in the first section, the narrator director is constantly mopping the floor, and the floor is absolutely clean, right? Almost like Lady Macbeth, cleaning her hand, and thinking there's still blood. So this obsession with cleanliness, this obsession to drink clean water, right? So you take it from the RO, you fill up in a water bottle, you mop the floor repeatedly. It's also interestingly juxtaposed to the person sitting on the shit pot. We even hear the poop falling and being flushed, etc. So this catalogical obsession on the one hand, and the obsession with cleanliness on the other, right? And even though this is a kind of we see only one subject living alone. So and get this obsessive, repetitive, preoccupation with cleaning the floor, cleaning the kitchen, cleaning this, ironing, washing, etc., etc. And then when we watch the second section, we recall these movements and realize that the cleanliness is not only in terms of this obsession with self-hygiene or of the hygiene of our surroundings, even though it happens within one's own confined domestic space, but what we are doing outside is enormous muck, enormous shit, and we are not bothered about that. Right? The blood of the Dalits, and how they continue to be oppressed in our modern state, in our present democratic state, and how the constitution goes for it was completely, completely. So this kind of your powerful indicating, right? Indicators, cultural and political indicators and markers are kind of dotting this entire movie, but most evocatively in the second section. And I'm not looking at the time, so if I'm going beyond the time, please do stop me. But the third section is absolutely, what should I say, a very brave attempt in today's times, a very brave attempt and a very sincere attempt. And it is interestingly called the fragmented alpha mass leader. And what is happening in this section is a collation of a series of quotes, a series of claims made by our present leader, and the most ridiculous quotes. By now, we have laughed and made memes, and we are sick of those quotes. But the way he arranges those quotes, right? Again, in an autobiographical mode, through a voiceover, and I must ask Ramachandra, why did he use your female voice over for this section, for an extremely patriarchal and paternalistic person? So I wish you had used a male voice for this, because this is really provoking that by bringing in this female voice. Of course, I'm saying it in a light-hearted way, that we are perhaps he's raising this point in terms of calling the man out in a more sustained way, which is absolutely fantastic. Whether the person's claims about his marriage, his celibacy, or about his claims of being a tea seller or this or that, or talking about the plastic surgery, accessibility in ancient India, and so on and so forth. So these are fused in together, not in terms of merely to be laughed at, but in terms of how all these claims have gone almost uncontested as far as this person is concerned, primarily because he has the audacity to also, declare that by now all the people who were criticizing me since the 2000, early 2000 have shifted that standpoint and are with me, right? Which is, I think, not entirely untrue. And then very chillingly, he also, the person claims, the person declares, not a claim, it's a fact, that those who disagree with me, those who continue to disagree with me, are in jail. Right? And so these chilling kind of comments are just kind of bombarding us without any directorial intervention. And that is primarily his mode of intervention in this section. And so whether he's using texts or films or quotes or reports from the social media, this offering of a pluralistic discourse, a collage of perspectives, right, that critique our social and political matrix, along with a historical perspective, is an extremely much needed, I would say, discourse that we need to engage with. I also would like to point out that in the third section, right, when we are talking about the leader speaking, for himself, is absolutely, unrepentant regarding the genocide in 2002, and also trying to pass it off as something, that has been that is to be seen as a conspiracy by his detractors, and so on and so forth. So by now, this bombardment of propaganda that has been, thrown at us is deliberately brought in here. And here he uses a lot of humor, black humor, of course. We sometimes laugh out aloud, when he says things like, inflation was really going terrible, and so, immediately it was kind of handled very well by my government through the, he doesn't use the term, but through that surgical, strike. So there is this sense of a leader exposing himself through his own blah blah, and that comes across, as I said earlier, both in a very chilling way, but also in a very, very pertinent and relevant way. He also, in a way, talks about the various achievements of his government and the sheer audacity of it in terms of counting demonetization also as one such thing is absolutely, what would one say? Absolutely, we can't even say that this should be simply dismissed, because this is what all the social media handles also are constantly, bombarding us. So instead of just locating that group simply as andhbhakts, right, we really need to look at it in terms of how these claims, are interspersed in this movie with chants of Odi, Odi, Odi. Right? So obviously we know that we can't take the name, but this kind of manipulating the chant that we hear all over in the real world with this kind of a subtext is very, very important. And whether the our for her looks at the spiritual tourism at Ayodhya, or the use of Israeli spyware, or the flaunting of the electoral bonds, or the demonetization as its achievements, um, certainly, as I said, the balcony shot that I mentioned earlier is getting more and more rigged in the movie. And that itself is a very, very powerful visual, subtext in this movie. And I'll just conclude with one short paragraph on the movie in general, which I, wrote it down in a mail to Mr. Ramchandra, which I would like to share. And I find this movie a very powerful and brilliantly evocative, both in content and in form. The text and the visuals are thought-provoking, laced with black humor and a sharpness of tone that is masked in a deliberateness, pushing the spectator to pause, think, and connect the links in the different parts of the film with each other. The section on Ambedkar was most interesting in its juxtaposition of Ambedkar's text and deeply unsettling visuals that run as a subtext, underscoring the continuing modes of oppression in the name of caste. The final section I found as a masterstroke in his cataloging of his statements, of the leader's statements, bringing out the absurdity and the terrifying ferocity of his position, statements, and flaunted convictions. It does make us laugh at places, but it's not a happy laugh for sure. So the movie has initiated a dialogue with Gandhi through the title, but by the time we come to the third section, we also begin to wonder that traditionally, if we look at Mahatma and we always relate it to Mahatma Gandhi, to Mohandas Gandhi, the second section proves it to us as who the true Mahatma is. It is certainly Ambedkar. And the third section makes a very vicious claim of calling oneself as the Mahatma by making all kinds of claims as his achievements. So certainly the movie initiates a dialogue with Gandhi. Though Gandhi is never, it never appears in a visual form, it does initiate a dialogue with Gandhi because truly Gandhian thought is much wanting in contemporary political discourse. And at the same time, the movie also points out that Gandhi's critique of annihilation of caste and Ambedkar's position also needs a radical revision. And so these are the various strands that I found in terms of offering me a fresh perspective on contemporary times. And also, even though it was fresh visually, it was also something that kind of, what should I say, validated my own understanding and my own response to the present times. So therefore, that also made me feel at home that we are not in a minority, we don't feel isolated. And I think this group also, would see that this movie is not really makes us think, but it also offers a solace in terms of recognizing that like-minded, citizens are relating to these subjects in a consensual, similar way. And so perhaps together we can we can dare to hope. Thank you. I will end with that. So there is hope yet, and the hope lies with us as well. And that's thanks to this movie partly. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much for that detailed analysis of the movie. Actually, your presentation and the way you connected those strands cleared many of my doubts because I missed or those things didn't strike me while I was watching it. Thank you so much for that wonderful presentation, madam. Thank you.
Well, I'm here
So,
to learn from all of you because you're all cinema experts, film,
no, madam,
critics.
I'm also a student of literature.
Yeah.
Because I'm much impressed by Nikla madam, Geeta madam. So because of that, I too started joining here. Thank you. Sir, Ramchandra sir, would you like to come in now?
Briefly, yeah, thank you, Dr. Mangalam, for those heartfelt analysis. Thank you, Talking Films Online, for this opportunity. Two things I would take from this, Dr. Mangalam, is that the balcony shots that you talked about, that one is looking out. Although one started off looking inside, but the whole idea. Am I clear? Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are audible. You are
Yeah,
audible.
yeah. So I would take that the whole film is kind of looking outside, and the balcony shots, as you rightly pointed out, represented that. And I would also take, although it was not consciously thought of, the cleanliness issue that you talked about, but it works well, the analysis of that, I didn't consciously devise those things, but it happened as the thing progressed, but it all falls into place. Yeah, thank you for that. But I would like to hear from the others also.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I have a question. Because with all the film, because I'm not a student of film studies, and the list of movies that you presented there, like Gata Shraddha and other things, is what's the reason for including Bahubali, a commercial movie, in that list? Is there any specific reason for that? Sir, you are not audible. You are not audible. Please unmute.
Yeah,
Please
yeah.
unmute.
So
Yeah.
that's what I thought the structure of the film about is about. From the everything is going on to the pop level. By the third section, it's all like somebody commented that the third section is all about. It's all a YouTube short. Bahubali is the pop culture that is represented. I mean, Surely, for example, or Bahubali is the pop culture, um,
Yeah, yeah.
which is taken over these days, and it is taken over politically also in that sense, and
Yeah.
therefore the progression towards the pop.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Would anybody like to come in?
Can I come in, Yagnashri?
Please, madam.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mangalam, for your fantastic, opening out of the film. And as Yagnashri said, I feel like going back and watching the film with your insights in mind. For me, it was a challenging film, I should admit, to watch, because it actually pushes the boundaries of what we understand as cinema. And those multiple, it was almost like a film within a film. And I sometimes I would wonder whether I should watch that little screen and then try to guess what is that film that is being shown there. And then you have this actor who is indulging in the daily quotidian activities. And then I'm also curious to know, who was that, whose was that image, which was almost a constant in the film. And it also kept, expanding and contracting, that little mugshot image. So I was curious about that as well. And of course, in terms of the political themes in the film, I think Mangalam has spoken really evocatively about it, and so I was kind of focusing more on the cinematic aspects and how it is made, and also that wavering frames, like that was also something that at one level it was visually disturbing, but probably that was the intention as well of the filmmaker. So perhaps Ramchandra will be able to elaborate on that.
Sir, would you like to respond?
Yeah. I was just unmuting myself. Yeah, the frames that you talked about, the faces that you talked about, the ones that are there in the side of the whole frame, is that it?
Yeah, just that it was the same image, throughout
Yeah,
the film, and it kept expanding and contracting.
there are three faces there. One is, of course, our beloved leader. One is, of course, Ambedkar, and the one in the middle is myself. So
Okay.
by the end of each episode, that particular person's face, distorted half face or 1/4 face, comes there.
Okay.
So in Ambedkar section, it is Ambedkar's face. The whole thing is reduced. The other two go away, and Ambedkar comes.
Okay.
So likewise elsewhere. You were also talking about something else. That you were asking something else. No?
No, those moving frames, I said it is, kind of visually disturbing, but probably
Yes,
you
yes, yes,
intended it to be like that.
Yeah. So the whole idea is people's relationship these days. My relationship with my cousins, for example, is distorted. I mean, parents, institutions have been distorted. I mean, the whole social fabric has been distorted these days. And I needed something to not name that in visual, but something to represent, that. So I thought it would be a good idea to increasingly distort the whole visuals progressively. But when it came to Ambedkar, all those visuals of the Dalit, I didn't want to distort them. I just wanted to hide their identity and stuff like that. But that was the whole idea, that people's relationship have been distorted, institutions have been distorted, our social fabric has been distorted, and that has to reflect in my craft, in my art, and that's the reason, as you rightly pointed.
And why AI for voiceover?
Yeah, that's a. See, I was dealing with this issue of AI, how AI is entering into filmmaking, and how it's not yet entered into filmmaking in a full-fledged way, but it's threatening to. So I was dealing with this issue myself. Mainly, I wanted to use Dr. Ambedkar's voice for the middle portion. And finally, my research, I found out a software that could be possible, that it could be made possible to do that, provided I have a clean track of Dr. Ambedkar. Then I weighed the thought, and I thought it was not ethically correct for me to do that. So then I thought I should go the other way around. Why not declare it as an AI? In any case, there is a distorted. It's also not Indian voices with Indian accent is not perfect. In AI voicing is also not perfect. In that sense, there's distortion in that also. So I thought the visuals, I'm distorting the visuals. Why don't I distort the audio also in terms of AI? Now, AI is a distorted one. And that's also the logic why I used the female voice for the our great leader, to answer Mr. Doctor. Yeah. So
Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else would like to come?
Can I?
Yes, madam.
Yeah. Ramchandra, I was just looking up our Facebook page in 2023. This very month, we had the discussion of Suddha. It so happens that 2 years later, we are discussing your next film. Pradeep Kenchinuru, if you remember, had introduced and initiated discussion on Suddha. Mangalam, it was wonderful listening to you. And I think the non-passionate, or let's say dispassionate, and also non-dramatic way in which Ramchandra's film came to us, I think has been imbued with a lot of passion through your presentation. So it was really great. And like Geeta and Yagnashri, it's worth revisiting the film through your lens. because in the first viewing, one is so overwhelmed by the form. First of all, a non-narrative film is a difficult watch. And secondly, an essay film. I think, Ramchandra, this is more like an essay film where you're reflecting upon various aspects of contemporary social and political life, also in a voice that I mean, we are so used to certain conventions that face and voice should match, or visual and sound should match. So every convention that we expect, you have broken it down. So it's quite a difficult thing to watch, especially if you're sitting at home and relaxing. So this is a film which kind of shakes you up, and you keep wondering, okay, so where is it going? Where is it going? But even as we kind of reflect, as we kind of watch the film, certainly we can see the craft, which has brought so many frames alive. For instance, the quotations of films, film shots that you have. Then I don't know whether it's like a virtual screen that you have sometimes on the sofa back, sometimes on some wall. So you sometimes you keep watching that, sometimes you forget and then wonder, when did this appear on the screen? So there is so much happening, and sometimes the monotonous AI kind of makes you lose track of what you're watching. So I'm just being descriptive of my process of watching the film. I'm sure the idea is not just to convey through the voiceover, because what the voiceover is saying is has become in some ways common knowledge to all of us, particularly in sections 2 and 3. But the way you have put it, put it in the form of what you call a chamber drama. I think your earlier film, the one that you had shared with me, Bunno Ke Endo, that is also in some ways a kind of well, it's not a chamber drama, because there is no drama. I mean this one, it's a chamber film, more like an essay film that is kind of happening through a lot of repetition. So the form with which you want to convey, I mean, what we have come to expect is realism as a form, or melodrama as a form. You're just breaking all those rules that one comes to expect, when one is talking about engaging with reality. One expects these as the predominant forms, but when you don't find it, it is disconcerting, but also I think a very, very rewarding experience, and a very unusual film. Thank you so much for sharing it with Talking Films Online, and we hope to have you more on TFO in the coming years, another April in the coming years as well. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Would anybody like to come in?
Yeah, I'm Adhibi. Can I ask a question?
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah. Thank you for this, evocative film. And it really took some time for me to understand this movie, actually. And because in each frame, so much is happening there. It's like you at one point of time, you think that what to concentrate on that particular shot. So it really took some time for me. And I have a few questions. I'm a little bit curious about, how this film engages with Gandhian philosophy in today's socio-political landscape. Does the film aim to revive his ideals, or does it offer a critique of their applicability in the current era? And also, the use of silence. You in the entire film, the use of silence is quite powerful. Could you elaborate how silence functions within the narrative? Is it employed as a form of resistance or reflection, or perhaps the both? And Also, I found that this film brings attention to voices that are often marginalized. How did you approach representing these narratives authentically and ensuring that their portrayal was both respectful and impactful? Um, these are the few, and finally, the visual metaphors in the film are very striking. Actually, could you discuss the symbolism, behind the specific imaginary, and how it contributes to the overarching themes of the narrative? I think I asked too many, but I hope you'll be able to.
Yeah. Thank you for watching the film, and thank you for your questions. I'm basically the first, I think, would be dealing with Gandhian thoughts. Uh, Basically, this is an ironically, I'm one second. Pause. And basically, one is questioning Gandhi's view on caste in his whole film. I mean, that's the I don't know. Some of Gandhi's thoughts are very relevant these days, and and uh, and we need to relook at it and rediscover it. But I would Gandhi's equation, Gandhi's relationship with caste. Uh, I'm not sure. We'll have to keep asking questions on this, and that's how. And therefore, this whole film, although it's about Ambedkar's thought, is a letter. It's a letter to Mr. Gandhi. So that's one thing. So there's no blind following Gandhi, but there are questions to be asked. Secondly, you talked about silence. You asked about silence.
Yeah.
Yeah, I hope the first answer is answered correctly. There's a completion to that. Silence, there's a slight difference. By silence, if you mean there is no voiceover, then probably I can. But there's no absolute silence. Absolute silence is deafening. No, there's no noise at all. No, there's no. But I guess you mean. I guess you mean lack of dialogues or lack of narration. Is that?
Yes.
Yeah. So these portions, quiet portions, so to say, although I would say these are not quiet. Actually, there are a lot of things happening. There's a pigeon. There are pigeons murmuring, and there is a traffic there and stuff like that. But these relatively quieter portions gives one time to reflect, and that's the reason why I mean, it's not tightly packed, except for the fact that in the last portion, which had to be very fast and very quiet, and there is no little quieter portions in that. In the first portion, at least, and probably to an extent in the second portion, there is time to reflect, so that so that's the idea of using that portion, right? And as you rightly, how did I represent the marginalized? As I told earlier, as I hinted earlier, it was not possible for me to kind of distort the second portion to the extent that I had initially planned, and because I had to keep those visuals as they are, of course, protecting their identity and all those masking and all those things. And also, I did realize that the second portion is on a lengthier side. And editing the text that Ambedkar has written is a very tiresome. It's a very difficult job. So however best I did, it fell into a certain length, which is on a longer side. But I didn't want to shorten it for the sake of shortening it, because there is a logic to what he says, the editing of it. I mean, there is a logic. Ultimately, it leads to saying that your religious texts are not sacrosanct at all. I mean, it can be changed. That's the kind of freedom that text gave to me. So I I kept it as it is. Uh, so uh, uh, that's the kind of um, so-called care that I took while making this.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Basava, sir, would you like to come?
Yeah. Hi, Ram sir.
Hi.
Thank you for this opportunity. I just wanted to say that one is that I just, contextually thinking of this film is a lot of first-person cinema in India has been very much about identity and queer identity or Muslim identity, for example. Several of films that we have known to in first-person cinema in India. So it is which has been criticized a lot as a lot of uh, especially the Marxist criticism of it has been that it does not appeal to the collective and depends a lot on the personal experience, subjective experience. And so, in that context, it's a very interesting first person cinema, I feel, in the history of first person cinema in India. So, because it is also sort of looking at this contemporary political situation and responding to it and not really going although you're using yourself in the film and reflection as the main methodology, but there is no indulgence of going into say your own personal subjectivity in the personal life per se. So that's a very interesting little bit departure from the first person films we have been seeing in India for a while. So that's very interesting, I thought. Formally for me, I think which I have, which we talked when you had first sent me the film also, is that formally it's very interesting to see that there is some kind of class commentary which emerges, I feel, when you show quotidian middle class life and contrast it or juxtapose it with images of structural social violence that that the society, marginalized in the society, are experiencing. So in a way, there is, I'm not sure if it's intended, but there is certain class commentary of the quotidian laxity of the middle class per se when we see your imagery, the images that you construct from your quotidian life in that flat in the apartment, right? So that I found that it somehow is something which emerges out of that juxtaposition very interestingly. But I would also say that this might be an underground film because the kind of footages you use, if you had to go get them from like a licensed version, that would be a nightmare, right? Because if all the footages that you use of different films as well as other sources. So in a way, it's the kind of, I'm very curious about the distribution model which you're following for this film as well, because this, as I said, it seems like an underground project, so to say, like the 60s, 70s New York underground cinema tense. So yeah, I think I enjoyed the film precisely because of all the politics, etc., and the formal politics of it probably more from personally for me than the thematic, because thematic concerns are quite well known and there is enough discourse I feel about it in the media. So I think the formal politics of your film kind of puts a very interesting what is the perspective on how to deal with this kind of thematic concerns. Was there, I think, couple of questions. One is, of course, if you can talk a little bit about the distribution goals that you might or plan you might have about for this project, and what is the politics of your distribution also, which would be interesting to hear. And also, I'm also curious about. Because of the voice, there is a strong presence of you in the film, but the AI voice choice kind of I felt that sort of somehow subsumes your voice, like how we say the voice of the filmmaker in the film, right? So that kind of I somehow, in my experience, it's kind of the AI voice kind of neutralizes the strong presence of your voice in the film. That was one question. If you have any reflection on that, yeah, I think largely, yeah, those 2 points, and also I would like to understand how you see these kind of how do these kind of artworks become more what do you say? I don't know, mainstream, or how these can become more how this can reach more people, right? So because this is a conversation which is necessary, at least for the in the learned class, let's say.
Thanks, Basa. Thanks for watching it. It starts off the film. Let me. You talked about the personal element of filmmaking. The film starts off, as rightly pointed out, at a personal level. But then the whole journey of the film, the 3 sections, has been planned in such a way that from the personal you move on to the social and to the society. There is a bit of that trajectory in the first part itself, which is supposed to be a personal take on my career and stuff like that. There's a hint of it that I'm dealing with a national issue or larger issue and stuff like that. In the second part, basically, I'm talking about Manthan. If you the thought-provoking Manthan that is happening, and in the third part, this is where we are leading to in the last 100 years. I mean, this is the society, although it deals with one particular individual. There is no me there in the second or in the third part in terms of my personal, but there is my voice there. There is my voice there, and I believe that the usage of AI should also be considered as a part of my voice, which is at the distorted level, and I don't think it would. I would not tend to think that it diminishes my voice in that sense. The use of it is also my kind of a voice. The third thing that you talked about is the distribution model. I'm very clear that this film would not have a large theatrical distribution. I'm absolutely very clear about it. I am not even applying for certification process for this. I have dealt with the certification process in the past. I've went to courts and have had partial and success with some of my films, earlier films. But this film, I'm absolutely clear that I'm not going to go for the certification process. So if I'm not going for the certification process, it means that I would not screen this film in large theaters, but I mean, then wouldn't that be a limitation to my audience? Yes, it does. So there's another, you talked about distribution strategy. The kind of outreach that I'm trying to do for this film is to personally send links of this film to people at whatever scale it is possible for me to do so. So I sent it to people and I asked people, and if they respond, and if they like it, and if they responded, or if they don't like it and they responded, and there are a lot of people who haven't liked this film, but they've responded. I asked them to suggest people to whom I can share this link, and that's how I try to go about it. Now, I'm not consciously making this as an underground event, you know. It's the way that I think this film should go about. And if people, there's in Manipal, for example, Pani is here. Pani Raj has arranged this screening of this film. It's a private screening of this film. 15 people were present. And in Mangalore next month, there's one more screening that is going to happen. So such small private screenings is what I'm looking at. People that too interested people who want to discuss such a film. I think.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Have I missed out anything, Mona?
Fabian?
No, I think, yeah, you answered all of it. I think anything with respect to the form,
Yes.
that's the only thing.
Yeah. It's good that. So I'm very, since it started off as a first person kind of a thing, I'm very conscious of the fact that the kind of activity, the middle class activities that was represented in the film is in contrast to what is being said in the film. I'm very and that is a conscious. The whole idea is to go towards the balcony shots Dr. Mangalam talked about. So I thought it was an apt representation of that. The whole idea is to open out from the middle class thoughts that you can have. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Fabian, would you like to come in?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, yeah.
My audio is working?
Yes, yes.
Okay. So good evening. And first of all, thank you so much for offering us the possibility to screen that film. And thank you to Mangalam presentation. It was brilliant. And it helped me to understand some things that I didn't really catch when I saw the film. But it's an innovative and I would say even revolutionary piece of work. I'm very impressed on the off-screen and off-camera and suggestions related to the history of cinema. I was very impressed. And I enjoyed this film very much. I think I laughed for 10 minutes. And thank you for that because it's not so often that you can laugh. I mean, even if the film is very serious, there is a lot of humor, a very, very intelligent humor. So I would qualify this film as a visual research with a very interesting resemblance with Jeanne Dillman. It's Chantal Akerman film. And your film is like a male version because Jeanne Dillman is a woman. And Jeanne Dillman was a movie estimated as the best film of all time in 2022 by Sight and Sound poll. So your film has many common points with Jan Dillman because of the repetition of domestic repetition that most of the people here noted, with a male character going on his casual domestic life, like cooking, cleaning his apartment, eating in a non-elegant and non-glamorous way, wearing very ordinary clothes inside his home, eating in an elegant manner also, with an insisting camera on the most common and ordinary movement of a male body and a graphic influence. There's a graphic influence of Godard too, in using the frame, the colors, and color calibration is very much Godardian, and also the filters. And I was thinking, like in a John Dillman film of Chantal Akerman, is not this obsession that was observed. I think it was Magalam who observed the obsession of the cleaning. Someone observed the obsession of cleaning. And I think, doesn't this obsession of cleaning is related to ritual pollution? You know, just showing how useless, how absurd, how ridiculous it is, this ritual pollution is, ritual defilement, ritual defilement. Um, so cleaning is like, telling us something. There is a message, a clear message on some kind of religious absurdity or something, but maybe I'm wrong. So it's a question. But I have another question. As I am French and I don't know very well the caste system. I know the caste, but not as well as as a specialist. So I was thinking, is the title a cry of distress addressed to Gandhi and his political dream of caste abolition? this is my second question. I have a third question. In the second part of the film, there are pictures inserted showing tortured bodies, wounded bodies, wounded head, shoulders, backs, everywhere in India, in different places of the country, and emphasizing the purpose of the movie. Are these pictures from the press? Because the image definition is quite low, and I think it's intentionally. There is an intention to have this in low definition, not to really individualize the characters that are in the picture. And these pictures are really dramatic and really moving, and they make you sad. Um, are these pictures showing the burden of intouchable and Shudra caste? So this is a naive question of a foreigner. And my fourth question is also a very naive question of someone who doesn't know much about Hinduism. I know some things. I've read Bhagavad Gita. I've read text, many texts, but it's not real for me. And I was thinking if it was possible to remain an Hindu religious believer if you reject the caste system. So my question is very naive. In other words, is it possible to remain a believer when you reject the caste system?
Yeah, the last particular question that you spoke is not a naive question at all. We are all dealing with this. So if the basis of your religion is the stratification of classes, that's what Ambedkar argues. Basis of your religion is the stratification of these classes.
Yes.
Then doing away with caste means doing away with religion. That religion that propagates that caste system. He finds it no differentiation between that particular religion, so-called religion. In fact, he says it's not a religion at all. It's just a set of rules that you have to follow. If it is a set of rules, according to him, then rules can be changed. It's not. It doesn't encompass a large. These are his words, and not mine. A large philosophical idea. I mean, Dr. Mangalam can speak about that in a better manner than I can. So that's a question that we are all dealing with. So what annihilation of caste does, it frees oneself. I mean, you reject caste, you reject religion. I mean, it's not religion at all, that kind of a thing. So that's the most interesting question that I thought perhaps later on, Dr. Mangalam can speak about that in a sense. The title of the film, Hero Mahatma, is rightly pointed out, is a cry. I mean, it's an ironical. Array, listen, I mean, please listen, Mahatma. 100 years back, or some 70, 80, 90 years back, you didn't listen. You didn't listen to Mr. Ambedkar, and now please listen. It's still on. And how is it still on? The images in your second part, which is rightly pointed out, is pixelated, which is distorted. The whole modus operandi of this film is to distort things, and pixelation is a part of that. Images are destroyed, people are destroyed, people's bodies are destroyed. It's pixelated, and that's absolutely rightly pointed out. The caste images, and you rightly pointed out. In a sense, Santa Lackerman, I hope I'm pronouncing it correctly, the name.
Yeah. Chantal.
Yeah, so Ackerman. Yeah. Her film is sometimes I also teach in film schools, and it's one of the films that I teach as structurally and how we should be. But Santa Lackerman's film, that particular film, has something in the end. I mean, there is something that happens in the end.
Humor. While your film is full of humor, Chantal Ackerman has no humor at all.
Yeah.
Funny. But when you say, "Oh my God," I can repeat it. I am embarrassed to repeat it because it's a little, vulgar. But I loved so much when you said, "I eat, I shit, and I make film." I thought it was so funny, because there is no vulgarity at all in the film, everything, and it's, it comes like a bullet, and you wake up. It wakes you up, because sometimes when we see film, we are in the mood, we are in the rhythm of the director, we are in your point of view. And you come with this sentence for 10 minutes, I couldn't stop laughing. And really, it's a piece of art. This film is really, I enjoyed so much that I can see this kind of film in India. That in India, they do this kind of film. Even in America, you can do this kind of film.
Yeah, it's difficult everywhere in the world. Anyone who is wanting to break free would be difficult, and there would be finance issues and stuff like that. There would be audience issues. There would be distribution platform issues, and therefore I think this platform, talking online platform, is a part of this whole distribution process that I'm giving. Thank you.
This is true. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Fabian. Mangalam, madam, would you like to say something?
No, not exactly. Not exactly at this point.
Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I want to speak something. So,
Yeah, please.
are you hearing me?
Yeah, please go ahead.
First of all, I'm speaking in the platform for the first time. First of all, I thank Mr. Ramchandra for making this film. It's a very daring and touching also. So in these circumstances, in this time of difficulty, one should be bold enough to make such a film. So my appreciation to him. But one thing, almost all things what I wanted to say that has been covered by other speakers, and Mangala Madam has beautifully analyzed the entire movie. So there is much left to analyze. But thing is, what I understand the movie is in the last phase, the last event, that the questions to Mahatma. There's a question that in 1936 you addressed this caste system, and there that time you stood by the caste. Now, what you are going to say about this one? So it's posing a direct question. That's the highlight of the movie, I believe, because the "Oh Mahatma" that is sarcastical, and the question. See, this is a difficult times. Mahatma stood by caste. But now, in the second phase, the entire situation of India is shown there. So it is shown to the Mahatma also. Now, after seeing this, what is your opinion? That you're just directly asking question to the Mahatma. That is one thing. Second thing, in this one narration and the AI speech of this one Ambedkar, there are so many things where already some things we have read already. But one thing is coming again and again repeatedly, that this Hindu religion, because it's not a religion at all, it's a conglomeration of caste, and these Hindus will not unite as long as the caste remains. But that itself has proven wrong now. See, this film is not judgmental and telling anything about that. But what Ambedkar and later the thinkers thought that Hindu will not unite. That means the caste system of the Hindus that will prevent them uniting as a force. But as Ambedkar repeatedly said, they have an enemy. So they are together because of that enemy, that is Muslims. They are against that one. But in the changing circumstances, they made it a force, taking the entire, that again and again, that Ambedkar is telling that you stand as a single force, but immediately you will separate yourself. That is also there. But here, they could join them, and it has percolated from top to bottom. Everybody, even a low class to top class, they will unite in the name of Rama, Hanuma, whatever it may be. So that also, things in the second part it comes. So that part also to be addressed. That's my question to Ramchandra for you, sir, because this is not the realm of the film I know, the movie I know, but this should be a question that should be thought of. That's what I'm telling, what I'm feeling. So this, apart from this film needs much more concentration to see and attention because every word and every picture or every situation clippings that should be seen clearly. So in that way, the film is a good experience and makes us to sit again and again. And it, as I told you, it it makes us to think so what the situation is and how to address all these problems. So in that way, you made a very good movie. I thank you very much. I posed you just two questions, but one more thing I want to tell before closing that one. See, in between, there is a outer world that picturesque scene, that is colorful scene, that person is coming out after locking the door, is going out. So there is a scenario that is very bright and colorful. So first situation, second situation comes. So no speaker spoke about that one. So I think the outer situation, that means the natural world, is still bright. But in the third episode, in that one, third block, it is not there. First two, it is there. So what do you mean to say about this one? What your idea of showing that natural world for some time, some 2-3 pictures only, and coming again inside that one? What is the particular idea of that one? And one more thing I must, before concluding, I must tell that three faces of persons. One is Ambedkar, another yourself, another that great man of India now. That itself is a beautiful idea. And thank you for giving a good experience. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, Nagaraj, for sharing your thoughts. I absolutely agree with you with your point. Ambedkar says, in fact, Ambedkar in the same book, he says, we need a common activity for us to unite. You know, what these RSS folks have done is provided them with a common enemy, as you rightly pointed out. So this film doesn't deal with that. Hopefully, in some of my coming films, I would be dealing with such kind of and that's a very valid and I mean, in fact, the RSS bachelors, RSS unmarried bachelors, I would say, are taking this, using this toolbook from Ambedkar's book, Ambedkar's words, basically. He says, Ambedkar literally says you need a common activity for the group to combine together, to unity. And that's what they've been doing, common activity. When the Lingayats are going to the Kumbh and they're trying to indulge in the common activity, and there's a common enemy, as you rightly pointed out. And that, I think I'll have to address it at some point of time in my future films. The second thing that you talked about is the shots that are outside. I wanted to remain basically the brightness of the whole film is throughout is same in the those particular shots and same in the all the three portions of it. What I wanted to bring out a claustrophobia effect by staying within the house. And even if one is going out, if one has to go out, if one sleeps, shits, eats, takes bath, one gets ready, eats, one has to go out. I won't be showing outside, but I will be showing outside from the inside, from the balcony. So that's the whole idea of not going. I'm not going into the houses of these high-rise buildings that are being seen through the balcony things. So, but I'm suggesting that there might be some possibilities in there, as you rightly pointed out, and that's it's not consciously the brightness of the whole film, if that is what you're talking about, is not consciously diminished in one portion or the other kind of a thing. Is that I think I've covered your questions. Is that it? Nagaraj, sir?
Yeah.
Hello.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
I think he's not there.
Mm.
What is this MS project? Would you like to say something?
Yes, I am Sri Prakash from Ranchi, Jharkhand. I have worked with tribal struggle for last 30 years. And right now I'm teaching cinema in Central University, Haryana in Bandhavgarh. So I supposed to write about this film, Ramchandra sir has already said, but unfortunately that didn't happen. There is no question, rather comment as a film activist working with the Adivasi struggle, which are mostly non-violent. But in recent years, violence entered there and the entire scenario has been changed. So I was really experienced so many people struggle on the ground. If I remember correctly, it was in 1998 and 1999, there was a march from Pokhran to Varanasi against the nuclear weapons because India has tested second atomic test. And during that period, I was able to see the Khadi Gram Udyog, which is still working with the Gandhians name, and the funding is still coming. But who own those organizations, the SOPs? They are the privileged people, and they are completely supporting the RSS and BJP. I was there in Rajasthan and then UP in those areas. And then I made and worked with the indigenous struggle in Netherhat, where army wanted to vacate the huge area to make army firing range. And that was the successful movement. It was in 1993, because at that time the Northeast was burning, Punjab issues was very critical, and the Kashmir was also in that situation. But at that time, the Gandhian protest saved those land, and that movement is still successful in India. And similarly, the Koel Karo Dam movement, which was before the Narmada movement, and they are still, government is not able to make two big dams, though 8 people were killed. So in that scenario, I'm working there, and I found this film very entertaining, a visual treatment. But I found really difficult to decode the kind of people, the groups I'm working with. It was really very difficult to them to decode this film. And I sent this film to my other friends in who are running the film shows. And you know the kind of situation India has. It is now the artists and cultural figures, they are now in the target of the government. Even where I'm teaching, it's impossible to screen such films here. Even I know I should not speak here in that situation, though I'm working in the government situation. So how we can look at Gandhi and Gandhian works in today's scenario? What kind of tactics that such kind of film get more and more viewership? And the same time, we need similar and various kind of experimental film about Gandhi and raise question about the current situation. So this is not a question, or rather a comment. And thank you, Ramchandra sir. You have done marvelous job.
Thank you, Sri, for watching the film. Thank you for coming here and sharing your thoughts. Yes, so it's a the theme for it. One may, for example, one may identify with the thematic political theme of the film, but then the form is also a bit different. And I guess it's by exhibiting these films to people who are not used to this form would is an idea. For example, it's difficult to say that this is not an. I mean, there's a book of K.N. Panikar who talks about the various forms that Indian tradition has. You know? So if you read that, some of this film has taken some of those forms, basically. The cyclic nature of the whole thing and stuff like that. So it's not that the form is not a part of our narrative tradition. It is a part of it. We have just forgotten it in the Hollywood dramatic narrative structure kind of a scenario. So I think we need to look at those narratives again.
Thank you, sir. Murli Krishna, sir, would you like to come in?
Yes.
Yes.
Good evening, all. Am I audible?
Yes, sir. You are.
Yeah. Thanks, Professor Mangalam, for your very good presentation or your very good take on the film, Here, O Mahatma. Then, thanks to Mr. Ramchandra also for giving a provocative film. So I want to only concentrate on one observation. I am referring to the soundscape of the film and also some images of the film. The soundscape of the film has an interesting array of beeps, rotating fan, opening of the front door, locking of the same, water draining in the loo, then the images of eating food, a brush lying on the table, cleaning the glass enclosure, shots showing heavy traffic. I think these are some of the motives that enhance the claustrophobic mood. I'm using these words in a very broader sense, depicted throughout the film. The variation in the voiceover is also interesting and noticeable too. And as rightly pointed out by many in this discussion, distorted lines and images convey a lot about the very dystopian times we are living in. Thanks, Ramchandra, for a very thought-provocative, thought-disturbing film, if I can add so. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for recognizing the soundscape. In fact, there's some distortion in the soundscape also. For example, in the last section, the tampura that is being used gets distorted by the minute. So in that sense, it's a really distorted film, so to say.
Yeah, that's very interesting. Every part, opens with that dusting stick, and then it goes on.
Yeah, this probably 100 years back, these are the kind of activities we would ask others to do. If you understand the position from where I'm coming, where my family is coming, and there's a conscious decision to use these activities of cleaning, cooking. It's a conscious
And
decision.
I love the way the letter was written, sir. Its content as well as its style. It hits the nail on its head.
Yeah,
Really wonderful.
yeah, it had to be like that. I hope it worked.
Anybody else? Tarkeshwar, sir?
Somebody has put up the hand, Arnav.
Let me check, sir.
No, sir, you can go first. Sir, you can go first. Tarkeshwar, sir, you can go first.
Okay, thank you. No, thank you, Ramchandra, for the film, and also thank you, Professor Mangalam, for the view. The movie is very interesting. As everybody said, distribution is a question, but I don't think that is the purpose of the movie. The times in which we are living is such that there's no space for expression, and you need to find ways to express it. So, in that sense, this is a way that has been found by Ramachandra to express himself. Distribution is a later part. This is not a propaganda movie that we need to distribute as such. So we need to express, and one would express himself or herself in a manner that is convenient to them. So in that sense, the expression is a welcome move at this juncture, and the framing device is quite interesting. The current crisis is framed in terms of one, it begins with Nehru, the modernist project, and then it is also a kind of all the three episodes are also a kind of questions addressed to Mahatma, and then there is Ambedkar who comes in the second part, and then the third part where the current protagonist
speaks himself. So in that sense, these are the 20th century questions that have, the way it has unfolded and the way it is unfolding in the 21st century. So in that sense, the framing device allows us to talk about India as a nation, not only as a nation state, but still from the late 19th century, when we started conceiving this idea of a nation itself, and then how we achieved it, and then the question of we achieved the nation state. Did we achieve the nation? Nation in the sense of an imagined community where there is a kind of bond between all of us as citizens. That is the main question that the debate between Gandhi and Ambedkar points at. So in that sense, it's quite interesting. But it is also, in a way, dystopian, very disturbing. Not only the content, but even the narrative style, as everyone has pointed out, the distorted images, progressively distorting images, is what is also trying to communicate the content. In that sense, it looks dystopian, though there is a question that is addressed to Mahatma, and whether Mahatma will come back and relook at his debate with Ambedkar, and will that be an answer to the crisis? That kind of hope is there, but in spite of that, we have no what I would say, within the plot there is no resolution that Mahatma would come back and rethink about his own position, and then which might help us to address this crisis. But somewhere I thought, in spite of Mangalam saying that it is a postmodernist thing like that, but most of the issues are posed in terms of a structuralist issue. For example, the caste. It's a posed in terms of a kind of structure, restructure, and then the crisis is there within that structure. Can we overcome this structure that has created this crisis? In a way, that's what Fabian was also trying to ask. Can this, without dismantling the structure, can we have an answer to the caste question? In that sense, it's interesting that it poses the questions, but the way the questions are also framed is in terms of a structuralist crisis will not allow us to move forward unless you take a kind of a Marxist view, and because there is a dialectic within the structure, and this dialectic, this conflict itself will push us to a new resolutions or a new equilibrium. Unless you take that kind of leftist perspective, it would be very difficult to move forward. So in that sense, though in terms of the technique of expressions that have been adopted in this particular film is postmodernist, but the question seems to be have been posed in terms of as a structuralist crisis. That's what I thought. There's some kind of tension there. Why I'm saying it is that, yes, caste has something to do with Hindu religion, but if you look at carefully historically, even among the Christians, even among the Islam, there seems to be a kind of caste. So in that sense, it has nothing to do with religion. Really, if you look at carefully, there is a certain kind of movement within this. Whether the movement or the changes within the caste system is for good or bad, that's a different issue. But there is some kind of movement, and what is that movement we are unable to understand. And if you're able to understand that kind of movement, is it possible to intervene in that process? Is the question. So what I'm trying to say is that in terms of posing the question in a very broad way in terms of mega narratives like Gandhi, Nehru, Ambedkar, and the present protagonist, is it possible to look at from a different, uh, very minute way, in the sense of what I'm saying, a kind of Foucauldian view where the power is not looked at something, but looked at the individual. In fact, the movie is doing that in a way, because when this narrative is going on, we see an individual performing the daily routine and the effects of the power on this individual, and the individual how is negotiating it through the camera and then performing before the camera and then making that as the public. So the private is made into a kind of public. So in that sense, it is possible to look at the issues in a much more complex way. But whatever that is a different issue altogether. But the movie raises an important crisis in which, as a nation state, we are caught up today, and then trying to uh, allow us to, through this framing device, revisit some of the uh, dominant and then the challenging ideologies who were the protagonist in the last 100 years or so. So in that sense, thank you for the movie, Ramchandra, and also thank you, Mangalam, for your exposition of the movie.
Thank you, Tarkeshwar. Yeah, by and large, I was dealing with the larger narrative as you spoke about, as you speak of. But that's my entry point into the issue. But I fully get what you're saying, and by and large, that was not consciously there in the film in terms of this how I negotiate these issues, these larger issues, the grand narratives that I speak about. There are major characters here, there, and stuff like that. Is what is made public basically. So what is private, it's gone into public, and that's likely been pointed out. But yes, these are some of the issues I take with me as I discuss with these people. Thank you for bringing this notice.
Thank you, sir. Tarkeshwar sir and Ramchandra sir. Arnab, would you come in now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
First of all, I would like to thank Ramchandra sir for sending me the link to the film and giving me the privilege to watch it, to view the film, and also to thank Talking Films Online for organizing this event, and and all and Professor Mangalam's brilliant analysis of the film, and all the participants who raised questions and also gave their observations. So I had a couple of observations on the film, and it's like first of all, it's a masterpiece, and it's in the nonlinear form, as Professor Mangalam said, and also its form, although it is postmodernist in its tripartite structure, and how its content deconstructs certain aspects, at least in the third section, that there's like comic subversion through black humor, but what I noted the most was the use of like in the first section is like a self autoethnography that connects the inner and the outer realities, and the second section was has this emphasis on uh, the process of writing through visuals, if I may use that term, where uh, uh, um, Dr. Ambedkar's the annihilation of caste is written through the contemporary caste atrocities as we see today, and both historical and contemporary. But the thing is that there's an emphasis on writing, like in the second section, and the third section is more the emphasis is on speech, and I'm reminded of Derrida's the late Jacques Derrida's. As I'm a student of literature and theology, I'm reminded of his emphasis that writing is determinate and ends all other possibilities, while speech is more open and open to changes and alterations of thought. But what the interesting point in this film was that by including AI and distorting the soundscape, like of the second and third part, both in visual writing and in the commentary, I think the speech has also been made deterministic, and the structure that a machine is speaking a human's voice determines makes determinate the third part also, and I think this is typical of the dystopian structure times we live in, the structural oppression, and the form through both writing and speech represents it brilliantly. And I can and if Ramchandra sir gives me the permission, I'll be able to write like there's a lot more to say on this film philosophically and extensively, and it deserves extensive treatment, like because it is indeed a masterpiece. So that's my humble 2 cents, sir.
Thank you for this analysis. Yeah, the kind of technique that we use often emits out of the political context of the times that we live in. It was impossible for me to find a resolution to either of these three characters that are there, because finding a resolution itself is determining something, basically. Yeah, thank you for the analysis. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram sir. Thank you so much.
Anybody else would like to intervene? Come.
Just a thought of what Aruna has been saying. This whole filmmaking process itself is a process of determining things on one hand and then making it loose on the other. So the dialectics would probably come here. One doesn't want to spread it out, but yet everyone doesn't want to determine things, So the techniques used in this film points out to these two contradictory directions. And I think not only me, but most of us would be dealing with in our writings and in our paintings and whatever. But it's an important conversation to have right now. Thank you.
Thank you, Ram sir. That helped a lot.
Yeah, thank you. The whole attempt actually reminds me the Greek word paresia, speaking truth for the common good, even at personal risk. That's really a wonderful attempt that you have made, sir. Anybody else? If there is none, shall we wind it up, madam?
Just
Yes, sure.
Fabin, would you like to say something?
just a short remark.
Yeah.
Naive, again naive. Gandhi was a believer, right? He was a Hindu. And he rejected the caste system. So it is possible to remain a believer. And, as the title of the film is Gandhi, to be a believer and reject the caste system.
I will just respond to it briefly.
Yeah,
The
please,
entire,
ma'am. Go ahead. Yeah.
yeah, the entire debate that the film also tries to, point out is the fact that Gandhi continued to be a believer, yes, but he did not reject caste entirely. He did believe in the caste. He did believe in the Varna. He did believe in the caste structure. So he did not reject the caste system. He only said that let us humanize it more and let's look at the Shudras as the children of God, which itself was pretty patronizing. He was not in favor of what Ambedkar is advocating, annihilating the caste structure. And first earlier question also that whether one can be a Hindu and reject caste system. Yes, one can reject caste system, but being a Hindu in a way kind of gives you that identity based on your birth. So all that one can perhaps try is to ideologically be not Brahminical, even if one is born in a Brahmin family, right? And allow that vertical mobility to all the castes. But it's easier said than done. Everyone has internalized the caste structure so much. So it's a constant, I would say, very self-conscious resistance that one has to practice and a very critical awareness. Right? Ambedkar also did not convert until 1956. Right? He wrote Annihilation of Caste in 1936. And he did say, I was born a Hindu, but I will not die one. But, it took him 20 years. Right? And he also says in Annihilation of Caste that conversion to Hinduism is not possible because we are born into specific castes. So caste becomes a very primary identity of every Hindu. So, and he also has said, that the film also talks about it, that will Brahmins ever lead this movement against Brahminism? Today, Brahmins can, have certainly begun to act as allies of Dalits, and one can be ideologically, pro-Dalit and proactively, not be a casteist.
Thank you so much. You are enlightening me. It's a precious explanation for me. Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'm also learning from Ambedkar constantly.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you, madam. Thank you, Fabian.
Mystery, just mystery, one second.
Yeah, yes. Yeah.
Only one suggestion. Ram, the Hale Kangal and Unbearable Being of Lightness is available somewhere to see. Yeah, it's on the net. I'll send you the links. No. Others to see because if they can, if one can see all three as a trilogy, there is a. I feel that having seen these films with you and discussed the film with you, it's an effort to escape nihilism because there is a seeping nihilism in us, in all of us. I mean, in this film also there is a concerted effort to be getting rid of nihilism. In the first part, nihilism is sipping it. I mean, like even with your 100 years of cinema history and art being somewhere guiding us out of this situation, finding some truth somewhere, there is a kind of nihilism is seeping because of the third part. I mean, what is happening around us. But somewhere we got to find some anchor like in Ambedkar and try to keep ourselves out of nihilism because nihilism need not be an answer. So if you're looking at Hale Kangal, quite a nihilistic film, and then your experimentation with Rohit Vemla's post-death film, Unbearable Being of Lightness, and this film, there is, I find there is a kind of philosophical craving or endeavor to fight nihilism in the present situation and find some answers through our own way, through our art or through our own expression or activism, anything like that. So, if those two films are available to be seen by all, the three films make a kind of a statement, a trilogy. That's what I'm. Yeah, true, very true, very true. In fact, this whole film is a step towards the structure of the whole film is structured away from nihilism, basically. That's how it is. But yeah, the three films could be made. Hale Kangal was a very nihilistic kind of a film, looking at the self. So from there to here, that's some journey. Yes, thanks for pointing that out. It can be made available.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you. Anybody else? Madam, shall we wind it up?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead, Yagneshri.
Yeah.
And thanks Sri Prakash. Sri Prakash was here. Sri Prakash is another fabulous documentary filmmaker. Nikhila, he is in Hyderabad.
Who is this, sir?
Sri Prakash. Sri Prakash is from Buddha Beach in Jadugoda, and that is Sri Prakash from Jharkhand who makes documentary films. He was just in the
Okay. We'll get in touch.
Yeah,
I'll be in touch.
3G has come from underground. All of a sudden, I saw him today because he did come to Udupi and we did show his film. We discussed his film and all. So I was not knowing where 3G is, and I all of a sudden he came here and interacted with us. So that's one of the interesting points. But I mean, Sri coming in face to face with Ramchandra, and that's a good thing. So he said he is in Hyderabad, so just to get that.
Okay, sure. We'll reach out to him. Yeah.
He's here. There?
MS project. Yes.
Yeah, Sri Prakash. Yeah, you get in touch. He said he is there in Hyderabad University. Yeah.
Okay, shall we conclude this? Yeah. Yeah. I would like to thank Ramchandra sir for the film and generously sharing the link with TFO and being part of today's discussion, which has really enriched the session. And I thank Mangalam Madam for providing a very holistic view of the movie by taking our attention to the minute details of the film. Thank you, Madam. I thank all the participants for your contribution. My special thanks to Geeta Madam and Nikhila Madam. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, Yagneshri. Thank you, Ramchandra, Mangalam. Yeah, and we meet every Saturday at 9 p.m. Those of you who are joining for the first time, please let Geeta or me know. We will add you to the WhatsApp group. That's where we share the information regarding the discussions week after week. Thank you and good night all.
Thank you. Thank you, Mangalam, Dr. Mangalam. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Ramchandra.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good
so
night.
much.
Bye.